Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the motion of thanks to the President for his address at the opening of the 15th Parliament. This is a year of uncertainty for workers. Over the past few days, my Labour Movement parliamentary colleagues have shared how global trade tensions and disruptive technologies are transforming the workforce, workplaces, and the future of work. At NTUC, we have heard the anxieties of young graduates as artificial intelligence accelerates the shrinking of entry-level jobs. We have supported the upskilling and career transition aspirations of the mid-career workers, and we have championed the platform workers' rights to work injury compensation and even CPF contributions. As the economy evolves, we must continue to stand in solidarity with our workers and equip them with the skills and protections they need to succeed. Because when workers succeed, Singapore succeeds. To this end, I will focus my speech on 3 priorities for the next bound of workforce development, or what I call the 3S. Supporting Singaporeans, strengthening the Singaporean core, and a skills-first Singapore. The first S of my speech is supporting Singaporeans. According to the World Economic Forum's 2025 Future of Jobs report, globally, 92 million of all current jobs will be displaced in the next 5 years. At the same time, 170 million new jobs will be created, resulting in a net growth of 78 million jobs. This is attributed to drivers such as the race towards renewable energy and artificial intelligence, which have already been cited by major companies for mass retrenchment exercises both globally and in Singapore. Gen AI especially has the potential to displace entry-level knowledge work by automating mundane or repetitive tasks, which will significantly impact Singapore's knowledge-based workforce, unlike earlier waves of automation that primarily displaced manual work. The same report found that, on average, workers can expect that 2/5 of their existing skill sets be transformed or become outdated by 2030. The hard truth is that previously secure jobs and valued skills will become obsolete. Workers cannot remain stagnant and expect to still compete. AI should break and not build barriers. In every challenge lies opportunity for those who choose to meet it. Renewable energy and agentic cognitive AI are generation-defining technologies that can not only create new jobs, but make them better and better paying. By supporting workers' learning and upskilling ambitions, businesses and the economy also benefit from more growth and a more skilled workforce. To ensure no worker is left behind in the adoption of new technologies, we must commit to a just transition that prioritizes the reskilling and redeployment of workers. If you recall, the old adage is learn, work, and retire. But today, it's no longer that. It's learn, work, and maybe retire. The Labour movement has persistently advocated for training allowance and subsidies for a second degree or diploma for mid-career and older workers who may be more vulnerable to skills obsolescence. Financial support for the involuntarily unemployed to help them bounce back from employment setbacks. And most recently, government-funded traineeships and apprenticeship opportunities for young graduates to strengthen their employability. I'm heartened that government has answered our calls with the launch of the Skills Future Level Up program, Job Seeker Support Scheme, and the Graduate Industry Traineeship program. In NTUC's 2025 survey on economic sentiments, 1/3 of over 2,000 workers expressed concerns about losing their jobs or not having their contracts renewed in the next 3 months. On the ground, I've also heard of the anxieties and frustrations of young graduates and involuntarily unemployed job seekers who have not been able to find jobs after sending out hundreds of applications despite having good diplomas and degrees. I therefore continue to call on the government to consider 3 policy moves. First, extending the Job Seeker Support Scheme eligibility to involuntarily unemployed PMEs, especially those earning above the current $5,000 salary threshold imposed by the scheme, so that the majority of the more than 43% of resident PMEs can benefit. 2, taking stronger action alongside unions against errant employers who do not practice fair and responsible retrenchment practices as we have seen in the recent spate of retrenchments. Third, incentivizing companies that hire first-time workers for full-time positions, similar to the jobs growth incentive launched during the COVID-19 pandemic. Considering the scale and speed of AI's impact on the workforce, I also ask that the government consider forming a tripartite work group on safeguarding workers in the age of AI to encourage companies to adopt just transition practices, prevent algorithmic discrimination, and ensure responsible use of AI-powered human resource tools. I thank the government also for hearing my call for a review of the Employment Act through a tripartite work group recently formed. And to keep pace with rising median wages and evolving nature of work, I will find that the Employment Act should cover more PMEs by raising both the salary caps of workmen and non-workmen, as well as providing more clarity on transfers that impact workers affected by ongoing company restructuring, mergers and acquisitions, and requiring employers to give explicit reasons for termination or discontinuation of employment initiated by the employer upon the request of the employee. During this time of uncertainty, I encourage our workers to adopt a mindset of resilience and adaptability to find strength in numbers and collective action. This is not the first time new technologies have disrupted the workforce, nor will it be the last. As with each economic wave and transition, NTUC and our unions stand ready to support our workers. The second S, strengthening the Singaporean core. Since my maiden speech in this House in 2011, I've persistently advocated for strengthening the Singaporean core, especially for local professionals, managers, and executives, PMEs for short, who face increasing competition with foreign PMEs. Over the past decade, I've advocated for a compendium of measures to level the playing field for our local PMEs, including the Workplace Fairness Act, which protects workers against the most common types of workplace discrimination, including age and nationality, a foreign PME dependency ratio, stricter EP application conditions, and continuous enhancements to the Fair Consideration Framework, and many others. These protections are important, and we should regularly review it. A strong Singaporean core must therefore be a Singaporean-led core. This means building up our local bench strength through investments in local talent pipelines to set Singaporeans up for senior and leadership positions before turning abroad and facilitating knowledge and skills transfer. We cannot assume that if we grow the pie, the Singaporeans will naturally get their share. There must be a concerted effort to encourage companies, especially our multinationals, to groom our local PMEs as part of their leadership identification and developmental process, improve HR standards and practices to ensure compliance with fair employment practices and tripartite guidelines, and encourage workers to step up and step forward for opportunities to relocate for greater international exposure. After years of lobbying, I'm glad more resources will be set aside for schemes that groom Singaporean workers by sending them for overseas work postings, such as the Overseas Market Immersion Program. And I hope the government will consider extending these opportunities to more Singaporean workers and adopting new levers to improve reciprocity between MNCs and our local PMEs. For example, the proportion of Singaporeans in management positions could be a bonus criterion incorporated into the Complementarity Assessment Framework for EP applications, COMPASS for short. Companies that have a highly disproportionate number of foreign PMEs and a weak commitment to nurturing local talent pipelines can also be closely monitored. If no improvement is made within a certain time period, the government can consider even removing preferential tax and other benefits such as the award of public sector contracts. Even the US is also mulling over imposing a $100,000 fee on new H-1B visa applications. HR professionals play a key role in fostering fair and progressive workplaces that attract, develop, and retain top talent. I therefore submit that the Institute for Human Resource Professionals, IHRP for short certification, which equips HR practitioners with essential competencies in workforce planning and regulatory compliance, be made mandatory for all companies. This is especially critical for MNCs employing foreign HR practitioners who operate within Singapore and help them better understand our tripartite industrial relations framework. To date, over 9,000 HR practitioners have attained the IHRP certification, and more widespread certification adoption will be better and will position our HR practitioners to deepen their capabilities and signal a commitment to professional excellence. To be clear, a Singaporean core does not mean closing doors to foreign PMEs who can help fill critical skills gap and support sectors facing labour shortage. It is about building a more competitive economy that is less reliant on external labour and nurturing the next generation of Singaporean leaders. It is about ensuring that Singaporean workers who work hard and can contribute can afford a good life in Singapore for themselves and their families in the only home they have. Third and final S is the skills-first Singapore. Today, disruptive technologies like Gen AI and new work trends, including the rise of gig work, freelancing, remote work, and side hustles, have transformed how we traditionally define and plan a career. Instead of a linear progression within a single organization, more are embracing flexible journeys defined by adaptability, continuous learning, and the ability to move across job functions and industries. Job instability and career transitions are increasingly commonplace, but so are building portfolio careers, pursuing passion-driven pathways, and going back to school for reskilling. This means more voluntary underemployment, but also more involuntary underemployment, an issue which NTUC has been studying very, very closely and examining the past decade. A 2-year research study in collaboration with the Singapore University of Technology and Design on underemployment, especially involuntary skills-job mismatch, where workers are unhappily overskilled for their current jobs, will be completing soon, and we'll share more in due course. Against this evolving landscape, diplomas and degrees can no longer act as a proxy for competency. According to a program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, PIAC studies released in 2024, higher levels of education do not always equate to better skills and knowledge. Earlier data from LinkedIn in 2021 also revealed that employers in Singapore preferred to hire candidates with technical skills and transferable skills over traditional qualifications such as education and minimum years of experience. At this 10-year mark since the launch of Skills Future, I therefore submit that it's timely to review Singapore's continuing education and training framework and system for the next bound of workforce development using a skills-first approach. Skills-first refers to a paradigm shift that prioritizes skills and competencies over degrees and diplomas. In real-world terms, this means that a student majoring in history, for example, but who has demonstrated coding skills through relevant work experience or winning hackathons, should feel confident in applying for an entry-level programmer position. It also means that two workers who are equally skilled, equally knowledgeable, and demonstrate good work performance should receive equal opportunities to advance in their career, regardless if one worker holds a diploma and the other has a degree. A skills-first economy, therefore, holds powerful potential for the inclusion of non-traditional learners who acquire skills through experience and expanding individuals' career pathways beyond the scope of their formal qualifications. It supports caregivers, older workers, persons with disabilities, young graduates, and freelancers or self-employed persons in asserting the value of their labour, thereby also allowing employers to tap on a wider talent pool. For this idea to take flight, however, requires the buy-in of all stakeholders across the workforce development ecosystem. The government will need to create robust and integrated frameworks for credible skills accreditation and transferability across institutions and industries. Career conversion programs should be expanded to cover more sectors and industries to become more relevant to PMEs. The public service will also need to lead by example in implementing skills-based hiring and progression. Employers will need to adopt progressive practices such as listing the necessary skills required in job descriptions on top of formal qualifications and taking skills certifications, testimonials, performance appraisals, awards, and leadership experiences outside of work into consideration for progression. Where relevant and where it does not affect employers' economic interests, employers should not punish the industrious and passionate pursuit of hobby jobs and side hustles as moonlighting. Schools and institutes of higher learning will need to adapt their curricula to raise students' curiosity, confidence, and creativity in exploring diverse ways of learning and working. The arts must be as well-funded as the sciences. We need to go beyond STEM to STEAM. Students must spend as much time in the industry and community as they do in classrooms and lecture halls. And most importantly, workers will need to be open to learning new skills and exploring new interests, fail, and try again. In 2024, over 60% of Singaporean resident workers had tertiary qualifications and over 40% had degrees. Yet in the same year, Singapore's training participation rate fell to a 9-year low of about 40%. Unlike other countries where unions often must lobby for uneven training and upskilling opportunities, Singapore continuously doles out funding. We undoubtedly have a highly educated workforce, but does that education end when we leave school? Does a highly educated workforce equate to a highly skilled and knowledgeable workforce? The shift towards a skills-led economy therefore surfaces starting points for us to boldly reimagine how we learn and work, and also why we learn and work, which lays the groundwork for more flexible and fulfilling careers. To conclude, work is the source of and the pursuit of hope, purpose, and dignity. It is what built this nation. It is the measure of our days, our connections, community. By prioritizing the 3 S of supporting Singaporeans, strengthening a Singaporean core, and a skills-first Singapore, we honor workers and commit to helping them earn a better living and live a better life. For all to train up to keep up and skill up to move up. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the motion. Thank you.